So much to talk about. I mean, so much to talk about. There's no doubt at all. We've had a sort of left-wing political commentator on the show already, James Mathewson, and we've got David Lammy, Keir Starmer, Vet Cooper, all the great and the good on the left, the nice people, the good, kind people. They've all been over the airwaves telling us that recognising a Palestinian state is the right, it's the moral thing to do, and that it's not a victory for Hamas. It doesn't reward Hamas for October the 7th. Trouble is, when they said a few months ago they were going to do this, they said it would be a reward for October the 7th. And the Hamas leadership has stated quite clearly, Mahmoud Mardour, a senior Hamas official, said it represented a victory for Palestinian rights and the justice of our cause and would send a clear message to Israel. So it's all very well Britain, Canada, Australia, France, other countries recognising a Palestinian state, saying it's not a reward for Hamas. If the terrorists think it is, then it is, isn't it?
The left, they want to pretend that you and I and everyone listening to this is stupid. They want to pretend that we just don't understand it. Absolute balderdash. The facts are these, and they are inescapable. On October the 7th, Hamas, a terrorist organisation, invaded Israel. It murdered its people, it killed babies, it raped women, and it took hundreds of people hostage. It took them back to Gaza, where it hid them underground. And Israel responded by saying, hand over the hostages and lay down your weapons. It refused. In fact, it used those hostages as human shields as well as the people of Gaza. Israel has fought the most proportionate war in history. It has had the fewest civilian to wartime casualties of any war at any time. Hamas
it's a genocide.
Hamas has made it continually impossible for Israel to prosecute that war by hiding people underground, by booby-trapping everything.
And by using civilians as a human shield.
A practice which kills thousands of innocent-ish Palestinian civilians in Gaza. The British government have, in response to that, what have they done? They have given Hamas what it always wanted most of all, international statehood. What will that mean? That will mean we will have to set up an embassy in Palestine. That will mean that, presumably, that Hamas officials, if they're representing the Palestinian government, will be able to come to the UK, enjoy diplomatic immunity from the fact that they're terrorists.
For any crime, by the way, any crime at all.
They'll be able to go to the UN and pontificate on the global stage about how evil Jews are and what disgusting people they are and how they must all be turfed out into the Mediterranean Sea and drowned to death. That is what our government has done, and it has done it at a time at which Keir Starmer desperately needs the Muslim vote in this country, or he's going to lose the cabinet at the next election. Those are the facts, and nobody listening to that should ever forget those. They should never accept the fact that they are stupid or that they don't understand or that the history is complicated. The facts are the facts. The left can try and get out of them as much as they like, but they are the evil guys. If they're so kind, why are they so often on the same side as actual terrorists that rape and murder and kill? No, they're wrong, we're right, and I won't have anything more said about it.
I mean, this is the most obvious, simple, moral, black and white, good and evil issue of our time. And the fact that so many people who can get it right on Ukraine can't get it right on Israel and Gaza absolutely befuddles me. People say that the history is very complicated. It is very complicated. We've got two peoples, two religions that are claiming rightful ownership of this land. It is a simple matter of fact that the Jewish people existed long before there was any such concept of Palestinianism, long before, thousands of years before Islam was even invented, before the Quran was written. That is a simple matter of historical fact. I actually, as an atheist, I've just got no interest in whether it's anywhere is a particular homeland for a particular religious group or not. That's not my business. At the end of the day, the Palestinians have, when Israel was offered their homeland, the Palestinians have been offered a homeland again and again and again, and 4 times they have rejected it, and 4 times they have launched wars, launched attacks on Israel. They've made it very clear, all of the Palestinian leadership, whether it's Fatah, whether it's Hamas, Palestinian Authority, full funded by Iran, they've made it very clear that their aim is not a Palestinian state that lives in peace in the Middle East. Their aim is one state, not a two-state solution, one state, and that includes the whole of the land of Israel. Look, Israel ain't going anywhere. And I think the one thing that the Israeli people and Jewish people around the world have absolutely learned is the need for Israel when we have seen the violence, the threats, the abuse, the blatant anti-Semitism we have seen across the West in the last few years. It shocked me to my core. I know Jewish families who are genuinely scared of staying in this country, who want to move to and planning to move. I know people who've moved to Israel, where I've been to Israel just a few weeks ago, where there are bomb shelters everywhere, where you have to have an app. So you can get warnings of bomb alerts, where people, your children have to sign up to go and fight in, this conscription army to go and fight to defend your homeland. They're giving up all the freedoms of the West and all that safety in the West to go and live in Israel because they feel, probably rightly, more safe in Israel. There's never been a greater need for a Jewish homeland in Israel. Israel's not going anywhere. No one in the West is saying we're going to wipe Israel off the map. But by giving succour, by giving a victory, by giving a reward to the Hamas terrorists who committed October the 7th, who've said they will commit October 7th massacres every day they can. They would love to do it on October the 8th, 2023, on October the 9th. They would do it today. They would do it tomorrow if they were able to do so. They have made that clear. Cheered on by huge swathes of Palestinian innocent civilians, right? So how on earth any state could say, yes, absolutely, we're happy to live alongside that. I would never agree to my own Prime Minister, my own government here in Britain, agreeing to have a terrorist state on the border that was constantly threatening to kill me and my family. I wouldn't put up with it. You wouldn't put up with it. No one listening or watching would put up with it. But we're saying to people in Israel, you should absolutely put up with it. Otherwise, you're bad people. This is absolutely impossible for any government. Doesn't matter whether it's Netanyahu or, I don't know, the equivalent of Jeremy Corbyn being in the government of Israel. No Israeli government could possibly put up with that. And I'm telling you that what happened yesterday, Canada, Australia, and now France as well, and Britain, going along with some other 100+ countries saying they recognise a Palestinian state, we have just signed our own suicide letter. That's what we've done. Keir Starmer, on our behalf, has signed a suicide letter, not just from Britain, but not just from the West, but from Western civilization. Because we've basically said, by all means, commit a massacre, rape women, kill children, burn families alive in their houses while you laugh about it and film it for social media. Take hostages, torture them, beat them, rape them, parade them in propaganda videos, digging their own graves, keep even their dead bodies, keep babies, strangle babies that you've taken hostage, laugh about it, allow your people to spit on their coffins when you parade them before the International Red Cross, before they're handed over to the IDF. You can do all of that, and here is your reward. You can have the Palestinian state you so crave. And here's the really mad bit. At the same time as Keir Starmer saying Hamas can never be a part of a Palestinian state, he's not a colonial power, last time I looked. I'm pretty sure that as and when, if it does ever happen, I don't think it will, a Palestinian state is created from Gaza and the West Bank, that when they have elections, which they've promised to do, I'll tell you who's going to be elected. It's going to be Hamas. We're going to have a democratically elected terrorist organisation in charge of a country on the border of a democratic ally in the Middle East. And what are we going to do then? What are we going to do then? Well, we're probably going to lay down our arms and write another suicide letter. That is what Keir Starmer has done on our behalf. I think he's brought shame on himself, shame on the British government, and shame on the British people. But he has basically given a death sentence to the West. That's where I stand on this.
But is it any surprise? I mean, it sounds like ancient history now, but never forget that Keir Starmer is a man who served in the shadow cabinet of Jeremy Corbyn.
Yep. Try to get him elected.
Very, very happily. Wouldn't have any truck with people who said, no, we can't vote for the Labour Party at this moment because why? It has a massive anti-Semitism problem. Yep. He gladly
never spoke up about it in cabinet.
Never spoke up about it in shadow cabinet.
Not once.
He gladly supported a man that he now says he always believed was anti-Semitic or had an anti-Semitism problem. And you know why? because he just doesn't care about Jews enough. When push comes to shove...
He's married to a Jewish woman,
when push comes,
that's the thing a lot of people find very confusing.
But, Julie, when push comes to shove, he is prepared to throw the Jewish people of this country...
under the bus
in order to achieve his political ambitions.
Which is to stay as Prime Minister and leader of the Labour Party.
For as long as humanly possible.
This is not about international peace or the children of Gaza or anything else. This is actually about Keir Starmer's personal ambition.
And fight for survival.
And fight for survival within his own party and the left-wingers who are desperate to basically appease any terrorist group in the world. And that's the reality.
And I'm sorry to the Jewish people of this country who are forced to face hate marches down the street, who are forced to face increasing abuse and violence and all the rest of it. Your Prime Minister has just said, stuff you. I don't care about you enough. I'm throwing you under the bus.
Well, no, what he's
I need to
basically
save
said
my
is
own neck.
there's only a few 100,000 of you, but there's a few million. I think it's 6 million, 46 million. I'm not quite sure the figures of Muslims in this country. I don't think you should ever judge people as voting a certain way because of their religious background, but nevertheless, we do see that is a vote that often does vote en masse for one particular cause. We've seen that with the MPs for Gaza, 5 of them elected at the last election, effectively, not worrying about the towns that they represent, but about what's going on in Gaza. I think we are in very, very scary territory where sectarian interests abroad are going to be affecting our national government policy, because I'm old-fashioned. I remember when we used to actually have foreign policy that matched our national self-interest rather than the personal interests or the personal fetishes of certain groups in society. But there we are. Let's also talk about something else going on right now. Nigel Farage and Zia Youssef as well been on stage in London announcing a new policy if Reform get elected, as they're currently on the polls look like they will be, and they're going to abolish indefinite leave to remain for legal migrants. In particular, we are talking about that massive Boris wave.
Yep.
Some 3.8 million people came during Boris Johnson's time, given legal visas.
Yep.
Now, the official figures say 1.2 million. That doesn't include all the dependents. I mean, it's extraordinary how often when the numbers we talk about don't actually include the actual number of people turning up. But a huge number of people were given the right to come here, often working in things like care homes, on low wages, being subsidised, and basically all those people in a couple of years will be entitled to apply for indefinite leave to remain after 5 years. Now, the Tories have said under Kemi Badenoch they would turn to 10 years. I support that, but Reform going one step further, saying, no, we're abolishing it. You don't have indefinite leave to remain. You'll have to apply again every 5 years for your work visa. There's going to be a higher salary threshold, it's about 35k at the moment. You're not a net contributor on 35k. A lot of these people, by the way, are earning less than 25,000. 100% they are not net contributors. And you're going to have much stronger English language skills, show you're contributing to your local community. Now, he said the anticipated cost of the 800,000 plus people who will qualify for leave to remain in the next 3 years, of removing a lot of the other people. He said that there will be there would be I think not a cost, I think a benefit of £230 billion. Now, these are figures from the Centre for Policy Studies who've now said, look, actually those figures are being queried. So I think we should leave aside talk of the money. But at the end of the day, he's talking about saying these are people who don't have a right to be here.
The truth is, there are millions of people in this country. There are millions of people in this country that need to go. There are hundreds of thousands of people who broke into this country unlawfully and have no right to be here. The only thing they've got in common is their criminality, and each and every single one of them needs to be deported. There are hundreds of thousands, if not potentially even more, in addition, who are people who have come into this country and are contributing little, if nothing, while putting all of the demands that each of us, any human being, puts on the state. They're demanding schooling for their children, NHS treatment, all the rest of it. And the result is this, that people across this country cannot get a GP appointment, that crime is on the rise, that salaries are being deflated. Now, look, Nigel has come to the right position. Now, I would say this, people will be cross with me, I would say this, I am old enough to remember earlier in the year when Nigel Farage basically got rid of one of his MPs on the back of the fact that he said that mass deportations weren't necessary.
Yeah.
So Rupert Lowe, I think, has the right this morning to be a little bit cheerier than perhaps Nigel is. And there's a little bit of cheek from Nigel to come out and now call for basically a Rupert Lowe policy after having thrown out an MP for doing so earlier in the year.
Yeah, but that was over different issues, wasn't it?
It was included within that. Nigel said he wasn't happy with mass deportations. We need mass deportations. So Nigel, I think
our priority is people who arrive illegally and criminals. And I think a lot of people, and then when you've got to this in America as well, with ICE turning up, masked men turning up and deporting people. Now, well, yeah, no, exactly. At the end of the day, I don't know why people who arrived in the country illegally and been there illegally for even if it's 10 or 20 years, why you think you've got a right to stay and why you think that the tiers should be coming down. Like, you knew the deal. But here's the thing: there will be that situation, and I can see the BBC reports right now of sort of this lovely family and she helps look after children in the community and he sweeps the roads and what a good people they are, and that's what people are going to say.
Julia, they are criminals. If you broke into this country illegally, you are a criminal. And if you are a criminal, I want the police to turn up at your doorstep with precisely whatever equipment they need to effect your removal from the United Kingdom. You have no right to be here. Yep. You stole that place from somebody that was more deserving than you were when you smuggled yourself onto a lorry.
But at the end of the day, we are constantly told, especially when you look at people who've come here legally, and again, one of the issues of illegal migration is often people who've come here on a work visa, legal student visa, or a tourist visa, is that they then overstay. And then because apparently, even though you have to queue up and you have to have all this information about you in the passport system, no one actually bothers to check that people have left the country. Yep. But basically, we're saying that if you come here and you're settled here and you're working, you've got a visa, you've got no access to the welfare state, no free services from the NHS. Now, reforms say this would save well in excess of 230 billion over the lifetime of the average claimant, because they, as you say, they have kids. Obviously, their kids will be able to go to school. But Zia Youssef said half of the Boris wave migrants and their dependents do not work. Well, of course not. Children don't work. And also a huge number of them don't do jobs which were their net contributors anyway. He says financial disaster for the UK, 800,000 people will become eligible to claim benefits next year from that wave. And this is the thing, we're constantly told economic migration is a boon to this economy. I mean, anyone arguing this, I get complaints when I write this in my Sun column from some Egypts who are saying this isn't true, and they complain to Ipso, they'll complain to Ofcom. It is a simple matter of fact. Even if you're British, if you earn less than about the 45k mark, you're not a net contributor. Even if you do a good job and you work hard. And look, and I'm genuinely, you're a street sweeper, you're a teaching assistant, you're doing a more worthwhile job than me. I know that. In terms of economic contribution, you have to earn over a certain amount to be a net contributor economically. You could be a net contributor in other ways. But if we're told that all these migrants coming legally are net contributors economically to this country, that is an outright lie.
Julia, if mass migration was rocket fuel for economic growth, we would have just lived through the most prosperous time in British history. We didn't. And that is on the basis of what is GDP overall. When you look at GDP per capita, every single one of these low-skilled migrants makes each and every one of us substantially, materially, observably poorer. If you want to know why 10, 15 years ago, you had a BMW on the drive, you got to go on two foreign holidays a year, and you had a nice house, and things felt tough but doable. If you want to know why it is now the case, that BMW is now Honda, that holiday abroad is now a trip down to Cornwall, and things are just tougher. Mass migration is a big part of the reason why you feel poorer.
We're in a ridiculous situation. We're importing people, often low-skilled, low-wage jobs, when we've got 6 million people of working age sitting on their backsides right now doing absolutely sod all, most of whom are perfectly capable of working. And also we have millions more who are, we're told, the working poor. Well, mum and dad, 2 kids, dad works 2 days a week. Well, I'm sorry, dad needs to work 5 days a week, and mum, unless your kids are, under 1 year old, you need to work full time too. Because you know what? Most working mums, most married mums do actually go out to work. I am fed up of subsidising people to do nothing. Genuinely, overnight you say, right, okay, these guys are gone, bye-bye, thank you very much, go back to where you came from, and when you can get a better job and higher skills, feel free to reapply. And then we say to people in Britain, I would say under 40s, that's it, benefits, gone, get a job, get a job.
But of those 6 million, 1.3 million were not born in this country. We are paying the benefits of 1.3 million people who came to this country, and we were told they would be contributors to our economy. They weren't. The politicians lied.
Absolutely.
And it's about time they did something about it.
Absolutely. I just want to get to the extraordinary memorial for Charlie Kirk last night, overnight, attended by, of course, Donald Trump, senior members of the cabinet in America, and the Vice President, of course, J.D. Vance, good friend of Charlie Kirk, but also, incredible scenes. I mean, tens of thousands of people, a spillover stadium as well, singing hymns. It's very much a turning point, very much a religiously motivated sort of right-wing organisation. Still got, far right and being used by some media organisations about this man. I didn't pay much attention to Charlie Kirk before his horrific murder. I've never seen anything that he said that, I disagree with him on abortion and gun rights, and I'm not religious, but the man was there for discourse. The man was there for conversation. He was respectful of his opponents. He invited people to debate. He defended. He stopped even crowds going, no, listen to this person. We're not being abusive. We're going to listen to someone giving an opposing point of view. And he did that because he knew that he could argue using words, and he didn't use the barrel of a gun. But let's have a listen to what Erica Kirk, his widow, mother of their 2 children. This is as a mum, I thought that your husband at 31 could be shot dead in such a cruel and utterly pointless way. This is what she had to say about his killer, alleged killer, Tyler Robinson.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men, just like the one who took his life. On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
She's a better woman than I would be. She's a lot better than I would be. Donald Trump, though, speaking a little bit later on, said something rather different.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica.
At least he's honest, but extraordinary words from Erica there.
Yeah, and what a witness for the ideas that she and Charlie held all those for all those years and spent their life articulating for. And the one thing I would say is it's at least an advert of why political violence is stupid as well as evil, because Charlie Kirk's words will live on forever now.
Absolutely. I think more powerful now than ever before. I want to hear from you. We'll get to phone lines up next. Hamas has declared victory after Keir Starmer announced Britain would recognise the Palestinian state. What's your reaction to that?